My name is James, and I've had a rough go of it. When I was 11, my mom smashed their wedding photo while screaming. They got divorced. My dad left, and so did my mom. No one wanted me. My grandma loved me and took care of me, but 4 years later, she passed away too. I became an orphan. I was 15 then. I didn't take the high school entrance exam. The stressful study and life were about to crush me. I wanted to go wild just once. Even though I wasn't sure if it was right or not, I dropped out of school. When I turned 18, I celebrated my birthday alone. I left with my backpack. To make myself braver, I went to a far-away city. My bag was really light, like air. It was my first time in a strange city. I held back the fear and unease inside me and went to look for odd jobs. I looked really young. No one dared to take me on. I showed them my ID, indicating that I was an adult. They didn't believe me and turned me away. I walked away dejectedly. I realized for the first time that I hadn't thought things through. I felt annoyed for a long while. I squatted by the roadside, staring blankly at the speeding cars. Loneliness and emptiness swirled in my heart, but I didn't regret leaving. I knew that people have to be responsible for every choice they make, but I was really starving. I squatted on the ground listlessly. My stomach was growling. Just then, I heard a soft "huh." I looked up. I saw a teenager about my age with bleached hair. He looked like a delinquent. I averted my eyes and ignored him. To my surprise, he actually walked towards me. He squatted down beside me. I thought he had ill intentions, so I moved away a bit, looking at him warily and said, "I don't have any money." After squatting down, he smiled and said, "Funny enough, neither do I." After saying that, he broke a small loaf of bread in half. He gave one half to me, and the other half to himself. That was our first encounter, and also the real start of my life. After we parted ways, I didn't expect to meet him again. The second time we met was at a small restaurant. The owner of the noodle shop took pity on me and took me in. He provided me with food and accommodation, and gave me a monthly salary of 800 yuan. Just like that, I muddled through and managed to survive. I was really lucky. I really was. I worked at the restaurant during the day, and at night, I'd huddle in my rented room and paint for fun. That's how days went by. It was pretty monotonous, until one day, I heard a familiar voice coming from outside the restaurant. I craned my neck to take a look. It was that blonde-haired guy. I had forgotten about him, but the moment I saw him, it all came back. I just glanced at him and then turned my attention back to washing the dishes. I didn't really care much about him. He was just a passerby, wasn't he? But he saw me washing the dishes. All of a sudden, I felt so embarrassed that I was at a loss and wanted to run. But the plate in my hand seemed to be stuck to it. I couldn't move. He grinned and stuck his head in through the window, greeting me with a smile. I didn't say anything. He walked in carrying a camera. He pointed the camera lens at me. I was so startled that I kept backing away. I asked, "What are you doing?" He jerked his chin and smiled. "Your boss hired me to shoot a promotional video for this restaurant." I was speechless, and even stopped the dishwashing motion in my hands. It's just a small noodle joint. Shoot a promotional video. What could you possibly make out of it? I didn't get it, and didn't care either, but I really couldn't stand someone pointing a camera at me. I warned him, "Keep filming and I'll smash it." Alright, he carried the camera out. After he finished shooting, the boss invited him to stay for a meal. The boss even cooked a bowl of noodles for him personally. I brought it to him. He looked at me. At that moment, I felt a twinge of jealousy. I didn't know why. From his eyes, I sensed something different. Rarely, I calmed down and sat there watching him eat. He didn't look very old. When he smiled, he had a prominent canine tooth. I asked him, "Aren't you in school?" He said, "I dropped out." I was startled, not understanding why I reacted that way. "Why?" I asked. He gave me a strange look and said, "I want to study photography." With that, he patted his camera. "You could study it while still in school," he said. "I'm bad at studying. Eventually, I just end up working in a factory tightening screws." After he said that, I was stunned. The next moment, we both laughed. He was actually quite humorous. To be honest, I kind of wanted to be friends with him. But soon, that thought vanished. Sometimes he was really annoying. When the noodle shop closed, I noticed a person standing on the street corner. A guy with dyed blonde hair. I was puzzled. The blonde-haired guy greeted me, and I was so scared that I turned around and ran. He grabbed me around the waist. He wouldn't let me go. "Please, can you take me in?" He said he had no place to stay outside. He insisted on coming home with me. My rental apartment wasn't big, so I refused. He played the pity card. He threw himself on me, crying and making a scene. I couldn't take it anymore. I made 3 rules with him. From then on, he would sweep the floor and do the laundry as rent. The rental apartment was rented for me by the boss. I made a profit. I'm really mean. I can't stand losing even a little bit. I don't know if he's stupid, but he actually agreed. He's 4 months older than me. We're both 18. At this youthful age, he insisted on sharing the room with me. At night, when we slept, he almost pushed me off the bed. I kicked him awake. His face looked really bad. He woke up groggily and exclaimed in surprise, "Why are you on the floor?" I finally couldn't take it anymore and said, "Are you out of your mind? You can't stay still while sleeping at night. What's with all the pushing?" He pulled me onto the bed, saying, "Go to sleep, go to sleep. Xiaoyan, Xiaoyan, go to sleep." A sudden chill ran down my spine. I was about to kick him again, but he pinned me down. I couldn't move my hands or feet. He clung to me like an octopus. I didn't sleep a wink all night. That damned Matthew. I'll definitely make him sleep on the floor tomorrow. Morning came. The morning sun shone in through the window, landing in the messy and narrow little rental room. I got up with dark circles under my eyes. I went outside the store, only to find that the noodle shop wasn't open. The boss didn't tell me about this. Soon after, I got a call from the boss. He said, "Xiaoyan, our restaurant is about to be transferred." I'm afraid. I knew what he was going to say. I was standing outside the rolling shutter door. Then I squatted on the ground. I was unemployed. I asked the boss, "Are you in some kind of trouble?" He said, "Yeah, I'm out of money." I said, "I still have a little. Do you need it?" The boss had been really good to me. You could say that at the very beginning, he had helped me out. He smiled but didn't say anything. He said that a guy should start saving money. I didn't say anything and hung up the phone. I squatted on the street corner and got lost again. Where should I go? At 18, I learned to smoke. Matthew and I were going to move, but we didn't know where to move to. We didn't have a home anymore. We were just 2 poor young guys. To others, we brought this upon ourselves. But in our eyes, we're growing while getting soaked in the rain. My once dull life became vivid because of him. It was like a black and white comic getting colored. He liked taking pictures of me, and I let him, but he'd always catch me rolling my eyes a few times. I hated him taking pictures of me. During this time, we slept in the corner of the stairs, took shelter from the rain under the eaves, enjoyed the air conditioning in the supermarket. It was so cold in winter. He still took some photography gigs as usual, shooting outdoor portraits for others, making a bit of money from time to time. I went out looking for a job during the day, and fell asleep dejectedly at night. Finally, I was taken in by a boss. This job was no different from the previous ones. All it involved was washing dishes and serving water. So boring. Matthew comes to pick me up after work in the evening. We go home together in the afterglow, even though we don't really have a home. He stretched and looked quite cheerful, asking, "Where to?" I admire his optimism. "I'm not that happy," I said. "When I get my paycheck, let's rent a place." At that moment, the crowd faded away behind us. It seemed as if there were only the 2 of us in the world. It's getting cold. It's winter. It'll snow soon. Finally, the day I got my paycheck arrived. We both chipped in some money and rented a small apartment together. This became our home. This kind of life is so dull. I can hardly imagine it. Am I really going to live like this for the rest of my life? Every night, I lie on the table and draw. Scraps of paper were strewn all over the floor. Matthew picked them up one by one and started looking at them carefully. He frowned as he looked, panicked. I snatched them away and said, "Are you nuts? Don't look." He chuckled and said, "I've already seen them." After a moment, he commented, "They're ugly." I was really speechless. I mean it, but I couldn't get mad at him. After all, he was the only one I had. I was already used to having him in my life. I couldn't do without him. I celebrated my birthday. I turned 19. Matthew used his savings to buy me a gift. It was a watch. It was quite nice, with a glittering galaxy inside the dial. I put it away as a treasure. He asked me why I didn't wear it. I said, "I'll wear it when I make it big." He laughed at me, saying I was silly. I laughed back, saying his wallet was empty. Then both of our smiles faded. We talked about our future and plans in that small rented room. I didn't have a future or any plans. All I could do was wash dishes and carry plates. All I could do was listen to him. He said he wanted to become a professional photographer. He wanted to travel to many places and take pictures of lots of people. I fell asleep listening, slumping over on the worn-out sofa. That night seemed endless. I was influenced by Matthew's enthusiasm. I started planning my own future. What could I do? Regarding what I would do in the future, Matthew offered me suggestions. He walked around me a few times and said, "Why don't you give modeling a try?" I frowned, in disbelief. "Are you kidding me?" He put his arm around my neck and smiled. "You're so good looking. Why not give it a shot?" I pushed Matthew away, pretending to be grossed out. I thought it might work. Maybe I should give it a try. Just give it a shot. I sent in an application to a modeling agency, but there was no response at all. I didn't hear back for a long time. I was really discouraged and went back to washing dishes every day. Matthew urged me to try again. I couldn't win against him. He's such a handful and so clingy. If I didn't listen to him, he'd stick to me like an octopus, until I gave in. So I applied to another one. After waiting for a week, just when I was about to give up, I got a reply. The sender said he was William. William asked me some questions. I was extremely nervous. After that, he informed me to go for an interview. Couldn't believe it. Did I really succeed? That day, it was raining. Matthew walked me to the door and put my hat on for me. He was worried I'd catch a chill. I don't know why. I felt like crying. I looked at him, my eyes welling up. He was so startled that he didn't dare say a word. He looked really funny. He made me laugh again. The interview went smoothly. I successfully signed with a modeling agency. William became my agent. At that moment, my hands were shaking. This was my first official job. I rushed home quickly. I told Matthew the good news. He was even happier than I was. We went to the bridge to watch the sunrise. At 18, I thought we'd be together forever. I already regarded him as my own family. I had him, and he had me. We formed a family. We depended on each other to survive. At least, that's what I thought. But I always had a hunch that one day, he would leave. Around this time, Matthew's photography career was starting to take off. More and more people began asking him for photo shoots. He'd occasionally make a bit of extra cash. After we made some money, we had a meal together. It was at a roadside barbecue stand, just as the sun was setting. He looked at me with his bright, twinkling eyes and just smiled. I said, "I've never met anyone like you." He was curious. "What kind of person?" I thought for a moment and said, "You endure a lot of hardship, yet you smile so goofily." Hearing this, he stopped smiling. He opened a can of beer and placed it in front of me. "Can you drink?" I didn't drink much, but I didn't want to be outdone. "What do you think?" I shot him a dirty look. Who would have thought? He was sitting there, grinning stupidly, chin in hand, looking at me and saying, "You're so beautiful." I couldn't quite put my finger on what I was feeling. All these years, for the first time, I felt like a breeze had blown across the wasteland in my heart. It was cool, ticklish, and kind of comfortable. It was so hot, but I was obsessed. I rolled my eyes at him again and said, "You're nuts." He laughed and said, "Even when you roll your eyes, you're gorgeous. Will you be my wife?" He was laughing like a dumb dog and drunk as a dead fish. I helped him up and started walking towards our home. He was so heavy, I wanted to just dump him by the roadside. Finally, I managed to get him back. He wouldn't let go of me, pinning me down. I'm pretty strong myself. I kicked him away and roughly covered him with a blanket. Then, all flushed, I went to the balcony to smoke a cigarette. I'm not much of a drinker, but I do smoke. From the room came Matthew's muffled voice. He was talking in his sleep. I listened closely. He was actually calling my name. I walked over as if possessed, and took his hand. It was so cold. Why was he calling my name? He couldn't have mistaken me for his mom. I was startled and quickly let go of Matthew's cold hand. Then I left, feeling a bit disappointed. I lay down on the sofa. It got dark. The phone on the coffee table lit up. I picked it up and found it wasn't mine. I was about to put it down, when I saw a line of words on the screen. "Think about it. Come to Chenzhou. There are far more development opportunities here than where you are." I was stunned. Was this Matthew's phone? A message popped up. "There aren't many chances. This is the only one. Think it over. I don't know why. There's a hollow feeling in my chest. Matthew is going to leave. Is that so? Whether he'll leave or not. The next day, I got up as if nothing had happened, and cleaned the kitchen. Matthew was looking at his phone on the sofa, and my heart skipped a beat. Will he leave? I wondered as I walked outside. When I came out of the kitchen, I happened to meet his eyes. He asked, "Why did you sleep on the sofa?" I used to sleep with him, but yesterday, I don't know what happened. I unconsciously ended up huddling on the sofa. I was sore all over from sleeping, and I retorted, "You stink of alcohol." He took it seriously. He sniffed himself and said, "I remember taking a shower last night, though." I said, "You were dreaming." I really didn't feel like dealing with him. I also pretended not to know about what happened last night. If Matthew wants to leave, of course he will. This shouldn't have much to do with me, right? He dared to drop out of school for his dream, and he also dared to leave a city for it. He's 19, at an age when one should go out and make a name for themselves. He'll leave eventually. My career was progressing extremely slowly. I felt like a snail, moving slowly, making any place my home. At any moment, I could be crushed to pieces by a speeding car on the road. At 18, I sometimes couldn't see any hope. At 19, I still couldn't see any hope. 3 months later, I got fired from the company. My agent looked at me with a complicated expression. She didn't know what to say. She just looked at me and sighed. I knew why I was fired. I wasn't obedient enough. Well, I accepted it. I left the company empty-handed. After all, I didn't have much in the first place. I left easily and resolutely. My agent wanted to persuade me. She said, "You're really talented. Maybe you could just swallow your pride." I refused. I don't want to sleep with men. After saying that, I left. I'm still young, so dignity is more important than life. Seeing that she couldn't stop me, my agent William looked regretful and stuffed a business card into my hand. I was a bit puzzled. She told me to contact this person when I got back. I never expected that William would turn out to be a benefactor in my life. That night, I dialed the number on the business card. A lazy female voice came from the other end. "Is this the person introduced by William?" I said timidly, "It's me." The other side didn't say anything. She sent me her WeChat. Then he tossed me an address. A message came through. "Audition. Need more people." I jumped out of bed. Couldn't believe it. Was this asking me to be an actor? Could I do it? I wanted to tell Matthew this news. He'd give me some advice. I couldn't do without him right now. But that night, Matthew didn't come back. I waited for ages. It got dark, and then late at night, I opened the door and sat on the steps in front of the rental house waiting. It was pitch black, and the corridor was quiet. My heart was in my throat. He wouldn't just leave without a word, would he? We'd known each other for so long. He should at least say goodbye to me. Midnight, then the early hours of the morning. Footsteps came from the stairwell. I was half asleep. Suddenly, there came a soft sound. The voice-controlled lights all came on. I looked at Matthew standing at the bottom of the stairs. He was even more shocked than me. "How come you're outside?" My face was cold. "I've been waiting for you in the middle of the night." My tone was cold, too. "Oh, come on, don't be angry." He came over and put his arm around my shoulder. We entered the house one after another. I didn't say a word. He chattered on. "I've got great news. My personal studio is about to be set up." I was startled. I looked at him in disbelief. "That amazing?" We naturally nestled on the sofa. Well, it was set up, but he was the only member. No investment, no clients. He was a lone wolf. I looked at him and gave him a thumbs up. After that, he was often busy until midnight. My audition went smoothly. Maybe they were really short of people. I had a bit part in a low-budget online drama. I earned my first huge sum of money in my life. My income broke the 10,000 yuan mark. When the money arrived in my account, I was over the moon. I splurged on a watch worth over 2,000 yuan for Matthew. It's right there. I saw something familiar. That Starry Sky watch was exactly the same as the one Matthew gave me. Cost over 3,000 yuan. Matthew and I were both poor back then, but he bought me the Starry Sky watch. When I handed the watch to Matthew, he was stunned. Then, incredibly, he happily picked me up in a waist-high hug. It was obvious he was really happy. We two poor teenagers felt sorry for each other. Both of us wanted to give the best to the other. He imitated me. He put the watch away as a precious keepsake. He said he'd wear it when we both made it big. Even at this point, I still thought we'd be together forever. I thought we'd be together forever, until Matthew told me with some hesitation. He was going to another city. Sure enough, Lone Wolf Studio went under. It closed down on the third day of its establishment. Finally, he made up his mind to leave. I asked, "Is it Chenzhou?" He was shocked. How did you know? Looking at those suddenly widened eyes, I kinda wanted to laugh. It's a photography mecca. Isn't that the place you should go? I could tell his mood wasn't right. He could tell my mood wasn't right either. We knew each other pretty well. I saw it in his eyes. He was reluctant to leave too. A wave of joy welled up in my heart. He didn't want to leave me either. He cared about me. In the end, he still had to go. After winter was over, he left. I saw him off at the station. He was dawdling and almost missed the high-speed train. I couldn't help but curse at him. Idiot, if you don't leave now, then don't go at all. He quickly scurried away. I watched his back and smiled. But as I was smiling, I couldn't keep it up. Couldn't smile, nor could I cry. He left, while I stayed where I was. I went back to the rental apartment. I looked at the obviously empty room. Felt like my heart was being tightly squeezed. Squeezed hard, pulled hard. This year, I'm 19 and alone again. I lay on the bed. The quilt still had Matthew's scent on it. The doll on the bed was left by him and placed next to my pillow. He said, "When it's quiet at night, let the doll tell you fairy tales for me." I thought about it and it was kind of creepy. I felt empty inside. I don't know what's missing. Time really flies. I adjusted my mindset and gradually got used to a life without the involvement of another person. I started actively vying for roles in low-budget dramas. Of course, just bit parts. And I did that for 4 years. I don't have much talent, nor do I have great luck. On the contrary, I'm an actor with rather bad luck. I've been playing bit parts for 4 years, completely unknown, until I took on a villain's role and became an overnight sensation, but was showered with criticism. I became famous. Being infamous is still being known, isn't it? Under such circumstances, more and more directors came to me for filming, and more people liked me. Of course, more and more people also hated me. I'm no longer the impulsive 18-year-old teenager I used to be. Having experienced hunger, I don't respond to others' abuse. I'm like an old hand. I keep taking acting gigs, and then I make money. I got an agent. It's William. I'm really grateful to him. He's the one who led me into the circle that I never imagined before. That's how the 18-year-old who couldn't afford a meal back then has made it to where I am today. Netizens have given me a cold and aloof persona. In fact, I just don't feel like talking. I'm not cold and aloof at all. On the contrary, I'm very self-conscious. I always feel like I don't fit into this circle. Others are noble and glamorous, while I look shabby. I describe myself as a wild man. William said after hearing this, "You're quite good at self-deprecation." I just smiled and didn't say anything. He said I'm like a weed in the muddy field, but I managed to survive anyway. Speaking of this, I thought of Matthew. I miss him a lot. Now I've got money. I can support Matthew. I want him to come back to me. I'll support him. He was like a wild gust of wind. It blew in during the most chaotic time of my teenage years. It swept by quickly, leaving me, a single weed, fluttering messily. He was both good and bad. This became a hurdle in my heart that's hard to get over. I've decided that, after shooting the last set of portraits, I've got to go find him. Gradually, I've gained the love of many people, but I've also got more and more criticism. Maybe this is proof that I've become famous? When shooting the last set of portraits, my agent, William, was excitedly following me around, saying, "This time, we've invited a top-notch domestic photographer. You've really made it, ha ha ha." I replied with a non-committal "oh." William looked at me with an expression like a hillbilly who can't handle fine things. Speaking of the photographer, I thought of Matthew. On a whim, I asked, "What's his name?" William said, "Oh, he's Matthew." She leaned in secretly and said, "He's also a handsome guy." I suddenly looked up and happened to meet the eyes of the person across from me. Those familiar eyes suddenly met mine. My eyes stung as if irritated. Couldn't believe it, but the person across seemed to have known it all along. He walked over with a faint smile, put his arm around my shoulder as he used to, and said, "Well, if it isn't my friend. Long time no see." He looked so proud. I couldn't quite put my finger on what I was feeling. I pretended to be angry and pushed him away, saying, "You came back without telling me." He quickly apologized. "I wanted to give you a surprise." Who wants a surprise? I'd rather he told me in advance. This time, Matthew's camera was pointed at me, and I was no longer nervous or repelled. After the shoot, I called out to Matthew. He put away his equipment and stood up, looking at me. His voice, laced with a smile, reached my ears. "Not bad, huh?" I smiled too. "You're not shabby either." After this meeting, the way we got along became much more mature. After all, we were both around 23 or 24 years old. The sentimentality and impulsiveness of our teenage years had long since faded away. This time, I did another big thing. I invited him to rent an apartment with me. After Matthew and I started sharing an apartment, the house I rented wasn't big enough, so we had to sleep in the same bed at night. In the morning, whoever woke up first would cook. Usually, it was Matthew who woke up first. He'd pat me awake. I'd get up with a cold expression, stare at him expressionlessly for a few seconds, then grab the pillow and whack it on his forehead. I wanted him to know what a bad case of morning rage was, before I could even act. Matthew snatched the pillow away from me. I sat there on the bed, stunned for a moment, then picked up my phone. My phone was snatched. I really couldn't take it anymore. I pounced on him and pinned him to the bed. "Are you out of your mind?" Snatching my phone. We started scuffling with each other. He wouldn't give me back my phone. All of a sudden, I accidentally brushed against something. I froze, then practically jumped off the bed like I'd been electrocuted. I tried to look as calm as possible, but he didn't look at me and turned his face to one side. I stammered, "You, go wash up." He didn't look at me, turning his face to one side. His jawline was tightly clenched, while the tips of his ears were suspiciously red. He gave me an apologetic look, and my face flushed instantly. We made eye contact. I made eye contact with him. After watching him walk into the bathroom, I slumped onto the bed dejectedly. It was so awkward, really, but I didn't dislike it. Why? I turned on my phone. I was attacked again. The trending searches were full of negative stuff about me. What did I do wrong again? I didn't dare to look closely. Then I glanced in the direction of the bathroom. He didn't want me to see it. He was protecting me. I don't know why, but a part of my heart softened. It was soft and warm. A long time later, I heard the bathroom door open. I buried myself under the covers. Hearing his footsteps, I ignored him. Matthew gently lifted a corner of the quilt. I glared at him and said, "Are you crazy?" After that, I tried to pull the quilt back, but I couldn't move it. He asked, "Do you want to check the trending topics?" To be honest, I didn't want to. Being scolded is always about the same old topics. I'm already immune to it, but I still opened Weibo. Something's wrong. This time, it's not just simple personal attacks. This time it's slander. Someone's trying to screw me over. All my personal information has been put online. My phone and text messages are blowing up. There are messages cursing me and praising me. My email inbox is full. Some people even found out my address. They're waiting for me downstairs. I found out that it was my dad, who I haven't contacted for ages, that did all this. I might not be my dad's biological son. He said online that I don't take care of them and make the elders in the family sad. I didn't panic. I turned off my phone. Then I took out my spare phone and called my agent, William. He didn't answer. I called again. Still no answer. I couldn't help but start to suspect. Matthew was squatting right next to me, not leaving for a second. I didn't have time to care about him. I realized I couldn't get in touch with William. I have a hunch. It seems like she sold me out. My dad didn't know my address before, and my dad didn't know my phone number either. I've been on my own for a long time. Probably only my agent knows all these details. I sat dejectedly in front of the French window, looking at the scene downstairs. It's really, really high. Just then, a pair of warm arms wrapped around me, pulling me into his embrace from behind. I felt Matthew's warmth and heartbeat. I closed my eyes and leaned against him. He's so reliable. Matthew has always been the most reliable. I can't do without him. He said, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid." All of a sudden, I felt like crying. I was abandoned by my parents at 11 and became an orphan at 15. I left home at 18 and set off on a long journey. I had nothing in my bag and was all alone. I went hungry and slept on the streets. I numbly spent 2 years washing dishes and plates. Now I finally got a job that can keep me fed. But my biological father just won't let me have an easy time. I didn't cry when I was so poor that I couldn't afford a meal. I didn't cry when I parted ways with Matthew. All the grievances piled up, and I broke down. I felt like having a drink. Matthew drank with me. I heard Matthew making a call on the balcony. He was trying to help me, but I was tipsy and couldn't hear clearly. I didn't notice when Matthew came up to me, not until he gently stroked my head. I was stunned, seeing him being so gentle for the first time. I asked, "Am I a screw-up?" "No," he said. "You're really great. He's all I have." I wanted to hug him. I was like a child abandoned by the world in a fairy tale. Finally, I spotted a floating log in the sea. I desperately tried to grab it. Under the influence of alcohol, I gently put my arms around him, leaned on his shoulder and nodded slightly. I also think I'm pretty good. From 15 to 18 years old, and then from 18 to 24 years old. It's been a long journey. Only I know how I made it through. With the help of the alcohol, I started acting drunk and out of my mind, crying one moment and laughing the next. Matthew didn't know what to do. He held me and comforted me like a child. My heart calmed down. Gradually, I hung on Matthew and murmured, "You mustn't leave." He said, "Okay, I won't leave." The situation took a turn 3 days later. Matthew and I were together. We found plenty of evidence. I voluntarily revealed my years of a wandering life. Since I was 15, I've been an orphan. No one cared about me. I've survived this long because I'm tough as nails. The tide turned. More and more people started to feel sorry for me and pity me. I didn't sue my dad. I called him and told him to leave. I told him to let go. He wouldn't give up and called me heartless, an ungrateful wretch. I said, "You raised me for 11 years. I'll pay you back for the child support." I started to settle accounts with him. He didn't like me much before. I got beaten and went hungry. I hardly ever got any pocket money. I calculated the living expenses and tuition fees clearly, and transferred to him the money for accommodation, utilities, and any other costs. We're square. Maybe he still wanted to extort some money. Matthew was so angry that he snatched the phone from my hand. Did you ever think about him when he was a 15-year-old kid with no one to care for him, no one to want him? I'd never seen him with such a cold expression. It was freezing cold. He was like an ice cube. Seeing him like this, I got excited. He was protecting me. He continued, "If you keep pestering him, we can sue you for abandonment." The person on the other end still wanted to curse. Maybe Matthew didn't want me to hear those dirty words, so he took the phone and went to the balcony. After he came back, he clung to me, like a Samoyed hanging on me. I don't know why, but I didn't want to let go of him. I wanted to hold him like this, embrace him all the time. I couldn't live without him. Abnormal emotions were slowly growing in my heart. I liked him, but was this liking an attachment like family, or a lover's infatuation? Couldn't tell. Life itself is already so hard. I couldn't figure these things out. I hugged him tightly. He said, "Don't be afraid. I'm here. Yeah, we're not those two penniless teenagers we used to be. We don't need to be scared anymore." I leaned on his shoulder and said, "I like you so much." He laughed a few times and said, "Me too." It was almost dawn. The sun was rising. Hearing this, I froze on the spot. My heart was beating ridiculously fast, as if I were seriously ill. I seemed to really like him, the kind of like between lovers. Finally, I really won. The negative trending topics were suppressed, and public opinion started to shift the other way. I was used to it. My heart gradually calmed down. I transferred the alimony to my dad and turned off my phone. I was extremely tired. On my 25th birthday, I announced my withdrawal from the entertainment industry. Entering the entertainment industry was an accident in the first place. I just wanted to make money and support myself. Now I've made some money. I can make a living. I want to leave. Life is like a venomous scorpion that can wear a person down to death. I still want to live well. That day, I was packing my luggage at home. I wanted to go far away. Suddenly, the doorbell rang urgently. I opened the door and saw Matthew outside. He looked really anxious, with a thin layer of sweat on his forehead. After everything had settled down, I finally took a good look at his face. He was good looking, but what surprised me more was what he was here for. "Are you okay?" he gasped. I replied, "Do I look bad?" He scratched his head and said, "No, you look great." I didn't pay attention to him anymore. I packed my things into the suitcase and picked it up. He grabbed my hand and asked, "Where are you going?" I looked at him and said, "Traveling. Wanna come?" A flash of joy crossed his eyes. He quickly snatched the suitcase from my hand and said cheerfully, "Sure." He lunged at me, hugged me, and kept laughing. I hugged him back. We held each other close, like wild grass and the howling wind intertwined. "Well, Matthew," I reminisced. I first met him when I was 18, when we were both at our lowest. He shared half of his bread with me. From then on, he'd share everything with me, and I'd do the same. We loved each other. I greedily breathed in his scent and said, "I love you." He was stunned. He held me even tighter and said, I thought we were already family to each other. I replied, yeah, we always have been. From then on, we became family and lovers. We traveled around. I opened a dessert shop. He became a famous photographer. I'm quite satisfied with this life. No one is unlucky forever. There will come a day when the bitterness gives way to sweetness. So after I'd had enough of the rain, I stepped into the sunlight. Extra chapter. I'm James. The above is my story. I opened a dessert shop. Business in the store is pretty good. I'm really good at baking. Matthew often praises me. He took a lot of pictures of me and made them into an album. The album is full of pictures of me. All of my face. I don't get it. An album full of faces. Isn't that scary? Can't there be at least a few nice sceneries mixed in? I said so. He said, no way. I only want you. After all these years, I feel like cursing at Matthew again. He's such a flirt. I just can't resist him. I put on a serious face and said coldly, stop with all this mushy stuff. He hugged me tightly and said, no way. I like you. I love you. I have to say it. You're the only one for me. Even though I'm speechless, I can't do anything about it. I let him hold me. I let him kiss me and get close to me. I really like it. He just gets more and more unrestrained. I've cried myself to sleep on so many nights. He's so naughty. The next day, I woke up. I was aching all over, especially my back and waist. And the culprit was sleeping soundly. Just like before, I gave Matthew a kick. He woke up. He hugged me and said, let's get married, okay? Without thinking, I said, okay, of course I'm going to marry him. Who else would I marry if not him? I'm going to go abroad soon and get married to my love. Before that, I posted my last Weibo. It was pinned to the top of my Dusty account. I believe there's no such thing as a life without hitches, but it's rare to be as unlucky as I've been. Fortunately, even when I was caught in the rain, I still didn't stop running. I was exhausted with an empty bag, but finally made it to sunny days. So what I want to say is, life isn't all plain sailing, nor is it always an abyss. There's a shore by the sea, so keep swimming hard. There's sky beyond the abyss, so keep climbing hard. Just like that, I got through the toughest years of my life. You can do the same. As long as you keep going without giving up, you'll meet someone who resonates with you, someone who loves you. You'll cross the gorges that life's bumpy path left you. You'll get through the heavy rain and reach the sunny days. Life is like crossing the desert alone. We're like a single grass seed in the wilderness. As long as you try your best to fly, there'll be a fierce wind willing to carry you out of the wasteland.